Right, okay, I'm sure you'll be pleased to know this will be the last video in topic 2. The last thing in this topic when we've been looking at demand is going to be looking at cross elasticity of demand. You might see it written down as cross price elasticity of demand. Now what we're looking at here is how the price of one product changing can affect the demand for something else. And again, we've got to assume that famous word again, ceteris paribus. The only thing we're changing is the price of another product. Okay, so basically what that means is everything else is held constant. We're not looking at the incomes, we're not looking at tastes, fashions, nothing at all. All we're looking at is how changing the price of one thing would affect the demand for something else. Right, now with this we have a formula again. So percent change in the demand for good A over the change in price of product B. In other words, how B changing its price will affect the demand for A. Now, let's again think about a little situation, a little scenario. Let's imagine that A is a car and B is petrol. Now think about it logically. If the price of petrol was to increase, well, people need petrol for their cars to work. Higher price of petrol might put people off buying cars. So what you might find is higher petrol prices might lower the demand for cars. Now what this would give me would be a score of minus 0.5. Okay, therefore what we've got here, if we get a negative number, it's going to show me complements. Okay, now the further this number is away from 0, in other words, the more negative the number is, the stronger the relationship between these two different products is. Okay, so what you would expect is that if the price of the cinema were to increase, the demand for the popcorn would fall. It'd be complements. You might find at football games that the price of football tickets increases, it will lower the demand for the beer and the programs at the games. You might find if Sky TV start charging more for their basic TV package or their internet, then their demand for things like Sky Sports might start to fall. It's a complement. What we call in economics joint demand, things that you tend to buy together. Let's take another little scenario, little situation. So what I'm going to think about now is A being Coca-Cola and B being Pepsi. Now what you hopefully realise is what we've got here are substitutes, competing goods. Okay, so what you would expect now, if Pepsi were to increase their prices, then this time you would expect the demand for Coke to increase. Think about why. If Pepsi is now more expensive, people like me that walk into the supermarket might think, you know what, Pepsi is now more expensive, I'm going to go and buy the Coca-Cola instead. This example here, I've got a score of 2. So if I get a positive number, then I'm dealing with a substitute good. Now what we can then do, we can draw these things in diagrams. So let's think about the complements example first of all, comps. Let's imagine we've got the market for petrol and we've got the car market. So we've got demand, we've got demand. Now let's imagine the current price of petrol is P1 and at P1, Q1 petrol is bought in the car market. We've got P1 price and Q1 demand. Now let's imagine petrol price has increased. It went up to P2. The higher price, there'll be less people buying petrol. Well, think about what that means for the car market. If petrol's now more expensive, people thinking about buying new cars. I think, you know what? At the original price of cars, I am now less willing and able to buy cars. Obviously, if the price of petrol were to fall, let's say down to P3, more people would buy petrol, and also because of that, you might find the demand for cars moves outwards. Suddenly, cars are more affordable to more people will buy them. When we draw two diagrams together like this in economics, we call it joint or double diagrams. Examiners love it if you can include these in your answers. Let's now think about my example linked to substitutes. Okay, now my example was Coke and Pepsi. Okay, so we've got the market for Coke and we've got the market for Pepsi. Let's imagine that the current price of Coke is P1, and at P1, Q1 is bought. Pepsi market, again P1 and Q1. So imagine that Coca-Cola raised their prices up. Okay? At the new higher price, less people are going to buy Coca-Cola. And because of that, more people are going to go and buy Pepsi. Let's think about what that means. At the same price of Pepsi, more people are now willing, at the same price of Pepsi, more people are now more willing and able to buy Pepsi, all because Coca-Cola has become more expensive. If Coca-Cola were to lower their prices down to P3, more people will buy Coca-Cola. And what you've got to assume is because Coke is now cheaper, the demand for Pepsi will start to fall. Okay, people are now less willing and able to buy Pepsi, even though the price hasn't changed. Now, businesses love to look at cross-price elasticity of demand because it helps them set their prices. Okay, firms like Coca-Cola and Pepsi know that if there are strong substitutes towards their product, they've got to be really careful about what price they charge. They've got to keep a very close eye on what the price of their rivals are. Same with complements. Okay, car manufacturers know that if petrol prices increase, it will affect the demand for their products. So they have to be very careful about not just what price they charge, but the price of other things as well. Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of topic 2.